Alright, so I'm gonna give you a backstory before I share my testimony. So I was born in the 80s, mid 80s, in the very cold month of January. Yes, I'm a January baby. My parents were immigrants, legal immigrants, by the way. They migrated from Laos after the Vietnam War. And so I was actually born and raised in Brighton and Somerville. And so English was definitely not my first language. That's why you can hear me having Bostonian Asian accent. So not only that I had that English was not my first language, but I had also a disability, which is hearing impaired, pretty much close to deafness, I would say. It was a lot harder, which is why it added on that, I have very thick accent. And so growing up was definitely hard for me because my parents didn't know how to handle a child with disability. And not only that, any child with disability in Asian culture are considered not normal or abnormal, if you want to call it that way. It's true, unfortunate. So besides the disability, added on that, actually, I was actually transferred to many different schools many times, and because of that, I actually stayed back twice. Yeah, sad. But not only that, once I reached puberty, my teenage life, things got a little bit harder because I wanted to be normal like everybody else. I wanted to, go out, socialize, and be like every other American kid, have boyfriend, just socializing and just have a normal life. But it was really hard for me to have that, considering my parents were immigrants and language barrier. So besides being a rebellious child, it was very hard because my parents were very strict on girls more than guys. And so we didn't really have that much privilege in a way. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure every other Asian can relate to that. And also my parents were pretty much a poor family. And so my parents could try to do whatever they could to keep us happy. And especially me having disability that required hearing aid at the time. Lucky for my mom was able to get help from social program, welfare, etc., free healthcare, and so I can get free hearing aids. And so lucky for that, I was able to get that. But at the same time, it was pretty hard. My parents were actually been Buddhist since day one until to this day. They had raised us to follow them, but it was never forced. Again, we were very Americanized. Matter of fact, my mom had encounter with the Jehovah's Witness, and because I remember there was a lady that would come by with her textbook, and they would come over every day, and I remember that. And luckily she didn't follow through because they didn't understand what was going on. However, I remember going to Sunday school, and I don't know how many times, but I remember I was so excited to go there because they had chocolate chip muffin and orange juice. So I was really super excited about that. Besides Sunday school, I don't recall how many times I went there, but I just remember that excitement. And, my uncle from my dad's side, he was actually a pastor at a Christian church. I don't know what church or what kind of Christian that he was pastoring, but all I know is Christian. Anyway, so I would say I was very aware of God. I was aware of Jesus. But being a kid, I didn't really understand the whole concept of that. But I believe they existed. God and Jesus, they actually exist. And so that really got me curious for a while, For a while, I was actually agnostic for a long time. I've been avoided following Christ because I didn't want to get into cult. I didn't want to be labeled as a crazy person. There was time that God was calling me, but I kept rejecting his call. And so the moment that I chose not to follow Christ, I would say my path really, really went dark. And I was facing so many obstacles, challenges in my life. I was trying to find reassurance in my life, and it was just getting darker and darker, and definitely not happy. I would say I was trying to look for reassurance, pretty much a guidance to go somewhere, like a goal, but it didn't really get to that point. So, and now here's my path of heading towards my darkness, and before I even decided to accept Christ. And this is it. So buckle up, guys. Here we go. So in 2012, Alice was getting himself into spiritual meditation while I was doing a horoscope, crystal stone, and fortune teller, stuff like that. And like I said, reinsurance. One day I was woken up by something. My alarm went off at 6 a.m. and I was setting another alarm for 10 more minutes. And all of a sudden, something was pushing the corner of the bed near my shoulder. And I was so scared to open my eyes to check. And that moment gave me a huge funk the whole day. And so the other night, maybe 2 or 3 a.m., Alex was reading something on his laptop. And I woke up, but I couldn't get up because it felt something like sitting was on my chest and my neck. And I was trying to sit up and scream, but I couldn't. And I tried to scream, but my voice for some reason wouldn't come out. I fought it for a few minutes until something was lifted off, which is weird. And so, go on to the few nights later, that's when Alice started to experience some paranormal activity while I was asleep, actually. And that was definitely a scary moment for him. He actually told me that he felt the bed shaking, but he noticed that I was not moving. And so then he actually felt something that was crawling behind his leg, like a cat would crawl on your bed. And so after that moment, it actually happened to me, but something a lot more different was that I can feel like the tip of my toe was cold, like really, really cold, like icy cold. And so that was kind of freaked me out. And then Alice, like a few days later, when he went to his friend's house, he actually saw like a black figure in the corner and like running toward him. And he immediately like just run downstairs to the kitchen. And it was scary. And I would say that's definitely the new age moment, I would say. And so after that thing started escalated like quickly. And of course he went deeper in spiritual stuff. So by the end of 2012, we moved to Las Vegas to try something new, a new life. And I actually never lived there or lived anywhere outside of Massachusetts, actually. And so, and of course, all the stuff that we were doing in Boston actually followed us all the way there. And so things even got more crazier there. And it was getting a lot darker. And so, especially with all the friends and roommates were still involved with that stuff as well. Because many of people that we know were so involved with these stuff, it started getting stronger and stronger. And of course, roommates, friends were all involved with spiritual activity, raving, drug, whatnot. I was definitely not proud of that. And then Alice was into more deeper stuff like yoga, laying down, into core, like into inner core stuff like that, laying down spirituality stuff, whatever, I can't explain. And of course I would tag along with that because I was kind of curious, even though I was still really not interested in that kind of stuff, per se. So for me, I actually sense like dark present around me, even though I don't see anything, but I could feel like something is there, But then I would say a few months later, while living in Las Vegas, we had a fallout from our roommate and friends, so we started going our separate ways. And so Alice and I, we started getting our own place, a condo. And then once we settled in the condo, apparently Alice started experiencing, seeing stuff and hearing stuff in the apartment. And I don't like that, And so he heard like some child in the master bedroom laughing at something. And so besides that, the whole place started feeling really chilly, really cold, and a little bit misty, damp. And one time we had our good friend, Diana, that's what I'm going to call her, to, respect her privacy. I don't want to put any real name. She came over, and in the moment she came over, the whole apartment went crazy. I'm talking about the doorknob was rattling, and the ceiling was all messy and foggy, and it was just insane. Like, I actually saw that, and I'm like, this is real. And remind you, she was like into these whole, I wouldn't say witchcraft, but like psychic reading and stuff like that. So it was pretty strong. So while that whole activity was going on, Alice came home from eating out. Like, he went to the buffet, and he came home. Everything literally calmed down for some reason, and that was pretty crazy. And so moving forward, April 2014, we actually moved back to Boston because things didn't work out in Las Vegas, and our family needed us in Boston. So and so at the whole time there, Alice and I, we were engaged, and so for a while. And when we got back from Boston, things started going downhill. Things got pretty dark.